Okay, the time is 7:03. The meeting was previously opened. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the
and to the
republic,
republic for which it
stands
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
Liberty
liberty and justice.
justice for all.
for all.
Meeting regulations. During each regular meeting, 2 opportunities are provided for citizens to ask questions and to make comments. During the first opportunity, early on the agenda, the meeting is open to the public for the purpose of addressing items listed for approval on this agenda only.
Justice.
The second opportunity occurs just prior to adjournment, when citizens may address any subject matter that is pertinent to and or directly related to the operation of the school district. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question during the public portion of the meeting, you may submit the question by accessing the Q&A feature on the bottom of the Zoom screen, or you may submit a question via our Board of Education email address at Hawthorne, BOE@hawthorne.k12.nj.us. When submitting questions via Zoom or email, please be sure to include your first and last name, address, and email address followed by your question. We will do our best to answer all your questions in the order in which they are received. If for some reason we are unable to answer your question, someone from the district will respond using the email address you've provided. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Please note that the board will not respond to comments regarding students or board employees in light of the privacy rights held by those individuals. Moreover, the board discourages comments about such individuals and will not be responsible for such comments. Members of the public who choose to speak during this public session should carefully consider their comments, since they could be held personally liable for any statements they make. Finally, please note that in accordance with district policy, the board will not officially comment or respond to any matter mentioned unless it can confirm that the matter has first been brought to the attention of the appropriate school personnel in an attempt to resolve the issue. Public be heard, agenda items only. I don't see anything on the chat. Any emails, Mr. Spirito?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, seeing no one, we'll move forward. Approval of minutes, December 15, 2020, regular meeting, both public and private. Can we get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Morrell,
Abstain.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Mr. Tutara,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo.
Yes. Correspondence, anything, Mr. Spirito? No?
No correspondence.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we'll have a presentation by our auditor, Mr. Swisher of Supley, Clooney and Company. Floor is yours.
All right, good evening, everybody. As always, I'd like to thank Rick and Trudy for all their help this year. During COVID, it was even more difficult to do an audit, and Hawthorne was one of the more accommodating districts. Several of our districts would not even let us in the building. So Rick and Trudy and all their staff went above and beyond. So I want to thank them for that. Once again, I have good news. You have 2 reports to approve tonight. The first one is your comprehensive annual financial report. The 2 most important items in there are your opinion on your financial statements and how your financial position, turned out as of 6/30. And I'm happy to report that once again, the district is on sound financial ground. Your opinion is unmodified. That means after we complete our audit, we feel that the financial statements that Trudy gave us are free of material misstatement and are fairly stated. So that's a good report for the comprehensive annual financial report. The state of New Jersey also asked us to issue a auditor's management report on certain compliance issues. They list down 9 separate compliance issues that we have to specifically audit. If we had any findings or recommendations, we would list them down in your AMR. That's a smaller of your 2 reports. And once again, sound like a broken record, but no comments or recommendations for the district. Kudos to Trudy and her office. They do a great job. And it's kind of a boring report, but it's a good report. So financially, the district's in good shape. No comments or recommendations, unmodified opinion. You couldn't ask for a better report. Is there anything specific the district would like me to comment on?
Nothing from my end. Anybody? We're good from our end. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. And once again, I appreciate the business and appreciate all the help Trudy and Rick gave us this time.
Thank you very much.
Good night, all.
Right, thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, Bill.
Moving on with the agenda, Student Council Rep, Ms. Perini, please.
Hi, thank you. Just wanted to quickly, hi, I'm Allie Perini. If anyone's like new, I'm the student rep. I'm a junior at Hawthorne High School. So yeah, okay. Good evening, everyone. As we transition into a new year, I'm appreciative of the chance to speak on behalf of Hawthorne High School as our school and district adjust through difficult circumstances. Despite our situation, keeping students and our community updated and assimilated remains a common goal. This past week, our student council hosted a Spirit Week for both hybrid and remote students. Our themes included Comeback Cozy Day, where students were encouraged to wear fleece or flannel wear, Tie-Dye Tuesday, Pajama Day on Wednesday when all students were virtual, Tropical Thursday, and Winter Sweater Day on Friday. To include both in-person and remote learners, all students and staff had the opportunity to send their spirit wear attire to the HHS Bears Instagram page and could be featured to spread their spirit. This month, the HHS Library continues its focus on national human rights and diversity events. In January, the library is offering information, books, and announcements, bringing attention to National Slavery and Human Trafficking Month, as declared by the United States Department of Homeland Security. Additionally, locker magnets and pop-up books at the library have been scattered around the school to call attention to this important effort. In the second half of the month, the focus will be on Martin Luther King Jr. and World Religion Day, which is celebrated on January 17th. Teacher support also continues to be a spotlight in January. As the country prepares for a transition of power, there are many new events for our social studies teachers to address. The library has been busy supplying resources and lessons to our teachers on topics such as the right to protest versus the right to riot, as well as the process of impeachment. This support carries on, offering assistance to all teachers with lessons in digital literacy and social media evaluation. COVID, of course, is still a relevant topic for academic exploration. With this being said, the library has prepared resources for math teachers, listing educational sites that explain how to use COVID statistics in math lessons. The library after-school workshops are busy with activities promoting socialization and student engagement. Throughout the month, students are exploring digital comic creation, t-shirt tie-dyeing, Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights bingo, manga literature, fan fiction, and more. The library also has established an after-school chess group in a private online classroom forum, which allows our students of all skill levels to learn, practice, and play each other or robots during scheduled times and on their own schedules. The HHS community outreach has also persisted with relevant Hawthorne High School information on the PTO Facebook page and attendance of their monthly meetings. All this information and more can be accessed by the board and the public through the library webpage found under the Departments tab on the high school website. This past week, on Monday, January 11th, the boys and girls basketball, winter cheerleading, and bowling teams began practicing for their upcoming seasons. Games and matches are currently scheduled to begin on January 26th. The winter track team will be permitted to start their practices on February 1st. Our athletic director, Ms. Mazaka, will be sending out a letter to all parents regarding the protocols for the winter season as they become available. In addition to this, any current updates for our winter athletic programs can be found on the district website under the Restart and Recovery Plan, which provides guidelines, scheduling, and relevant information for the upcoming season. I'm sorry. With that being said, that'll do it for our January update. Thank you so much, and hope everyone has a great night.
Allison, thank you very much. Mrs. Perito, turn it over to you for your superintendent's report, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Clavijo. So a few items to report on, and let me begin with School Board Recognition Month. So January each year is deemed School Board's Recognition Month. So I'd just like to read something on behalf or on behalf of myself in regards to the board. So the New Jersey School Boards Association has declared January 2021 to be the School Board Recognition Month, a time when all residents can acknowledge the contributions made by our local school board members. The Hawthorne Board of Education is one of 580 local school boards in New Jersey, which set policies and oversee operations for public school districts and embrace the goal of high-quality education for all New Jersey public school students. New Jersey's local school boards help determine the educational goals for approximately 1.4 million children in pre-K through 12th grade, and New Jersey's 5,000 local school board members who receive no remuneration for their services, act as advocates for public school students as they work with administrators, teachers, and parents for the betterment of public education. School boards strive to provide the resources necessary to meet the needs of all students, including those with special needs. And these boards provide accountability to the public. They communicate the needs of the school district to the public, and they convey to school administrators the public's expectations for the schools. New Jersey can take pride in its schools, which rank among the nation's best in key achievement indicators, and for preparation for college through advanced placement offerings and SAT assessments. On behalf of the administration, staff, and students of Hawthorne, we thank our Board of Education members for their commitment to our students and schools, and we value the time they dedicate and the important role they play in the advancement of education for the children of Hawthorne. So thank you to all of our school board members. Couple of other updates in regard to the school district. So kindergarten registration information will be going out soon. We're anticipating that letters will be disseminated next week in regard to kindergarten registration for this year. Obviously, this will be a little bit of a different year than in the past. What we typically do is the first step will be the same in that parents will go on our website. And again, we'll explain all this in the letter that goes out. People will be going on our website to do the pre-registration remotely on our website. From there, they'll be contacted by the administrative assistants at our schools. We're going to try to do as much as we can remotely this year and ask people to share documents remotely as much as we can. Obviously, we might find situations where people can't do that. And in those cases, we will make appointments with those parents to come into the building to complete that registration process. But again, all the information will be going out next week, not only for kindergarten registration, but for our integrated preschool registration. Again, we're going to share all that as we get into the beginning of next week. All that information will be on our website as well as on our social media platforms next week. CUSAC update. As of our recent update from the Department of Education and our interim executive county superintendent, the governor recently signed legislation to waive CUSAC reviews for districts that were deemed high performing in their last review 3 years ago. Last week, I confirmed with our interim executive county superintendent, Mrs. Drakeford, that we were waived. I confirmed with her because the guidance that came out had certain districts having to place items on a board agenda for board approval. But because we were deemed high performing in our last CUSAC review, Mrs. Drakeford informed me that there is nothing else for us to do and that we are officially waived until the 2023-2024 school year, which will be our next CUSAC review. I do want to just take a moment to thank Dr. Trebona, Mrs. Engel, our administrators, and the members of our CUSAC committee who met this fall to prepare for this review. And we had to submit, as you guys know, all the documentation in December. but that review is officially waived until the 2023-2024 school year. I want to just update the board. Our Diversity Alliance Committee met on January 14th. We had another informative meeting with great attendance again. I do want to thank, obviously, the Institute for Anti-Racist Education and Ashley Lipscomb, who runs our meetings. She's done a great job of facilitating those meetings. I also want to just remind people, and I know the communications went out already, but just remind people that we'll be hosting focus groups for community members or parents, students, and staff, high school students, middle school students separately, and then, of course, our administrators and our staff members separately. So if you are interested in participating, you can go to our district website and scroll down to the bottom of the page. There is a tab there for our Diversity Alliance Committee. On that tab is information about our focus groups. You can also, if you're unable to participate in the focus groups and you just want to participate, there is a link there that you can participate in a survey that is available on our website. Anyone can participate. Again, it can be students, can be parents, community members, teachers or administrators, anyone who's interested. So there is a tab there. Please, I encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity to participate in that website, which will guide our discussions moving forward with the Diversity Alliance Committee and the Institute for Anti-Racist Education. I want to just remind people in our community, anyone who's on this meeting or will be watching this meeting in the future, that we have a vacancy on our Board of Education. Information was shared last week in regards to that vacancy. It was shared on our social media platforms as well as Tap Into Hawthorne. And there's also, when you open our website, there's a pop-up that comes up and shares the ad with you. Anyone who's interested, the ad is open through January 29th. You have to send a letter of interest as well as some information about yourself. But I encourage anyone who may be interested in that board vacancy to review that ad and submit your application for that position. Finally, I want to just talk briefly about our schools. So I've been sharing information with our Board of Education in regards to our current reopening. And I'll just share that, you know, this year has been a significant challenge for all of us, for the board, for myself, our administrators, our teachers, and our students as well. And I realize that. I also realize that we have people on both sides of the issue in terms of some feel that we should have students in schools more often. Others are concerned about the current positive COVID numbers in our community and feel that schools should be closed. So I do understand that position. My focus throughout the beginning of this year and to date has been what's best for our students and our staff. What I can share is that we know from the beginning of this school year that we have some students who are struggling with this remote, the period that we were remote from the end of November, middle of November through our return on January 11th, struggling with the idea of the isolation and that full remote learning model. Although some of our students do very well in that setting, there are some that simply need to attend an in-person or have an option for an in-person setting. You know, as a district, I can say that we've tried to, you know, continue to make our environment as safe as possible. I shared in my recent letter that we added air purifiers in all of our classrooms with HEPA filters. We've added desk shields for any teachers that are interested in having those in their classrooms. And unfortunately, to be honest with you, we're not getting a lot of guidance and support from our health department. That's just the reality that we're dealing with here in Hawthorne. What I would ask going forward is that I have to urge all of our community members to please adhere to the guidance that's been provided numerous times and as recently as Monday night. Please do not send your child to school when they are sick, because what you do is you put other people at risk. If they are having symptoms, if they are quarantining, please do not send your child to school. We understand that parents want their children in school, But if you send your children to school when they have symptoms, are sick, or are being required to quarantine, you put others at risk, and that will, just being honest with you, that will be the thing that will close our district at this point. Listen, just in closing, I just want to say that I want to thank everyone in our district and all the work that they've done, our administrators, our teachers, and our school nurses. I mean, they've worked extremely hard to make sure that our buildings are safe and to make sure that we've contact traced and ensure that we've made it as safe as possible for all of our staff. We know it's not easy. We do feel it's important. And what I can promise our community, our parents, and our students is that I will do the best that I can as the superintendent of this district to make the decision that I feel is the safest for all people in our community. Again, I can promise you, or I can share with you, that this is not easy. It's been a challenging year for sure. But we'll continue to monitor everything that is going on in our district. We'll continue to take every precaution and hopefully be able to remain in person. But if we can't, we will communicate that to our parents as soon as possible. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Spirito. Ms. Goff, curriculum and instruction, please.
Sure, Mr. President. Pursuant to the recommendation of the Board of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Curriculum and Instruction recommend the following resolutions. CI 1 on page 4. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Dr. Morel,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo.
Yes. Ms. Goff, right back at you for personnel.
The following resolutions are pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools. P2 through P9 on page 4, P10 through P15 on page 5, as well as P25 and 26 on page 10 of the addendum. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Dr. Morel,
Yes.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo.
Yes. Mr. Turco, Finance and Administration, please.
Thank you. Trudy, before I read, is there anything, I don't have the addendum in front of me. Is there anything? Thank you. Pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Finance and Administration recommends the following resolutions. F16 through A20. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Dr. Morel,
Yes.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo.
Yes. Mr. Reicher, claims, please.
Sure. In accordance with NJAC 6A:23-2:11B, and C4, I looked at all of the bills for January 2021. Everything is in order. So I'm recommending that the board approve the bill list for the month of January 2021.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Dr. Morel,
Yes.
Mr. Palouche,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo.
Yes. Mr. Totaro, buildings and grounds, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Pursuant to the recommendation of superintendents of schools, the Committee of Buildings and Grounds recommends the following resolutions. BG 22 and 23 on page 7 and BG 24 on page 8.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Dr. Morel,
Yes.
Mr. Palouche,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
With reservation on BG 22, yes on everything else.
Mr. Clavijo.
Yes. Moving on to with the agenda, we have our committee liaison reports. It is our first meeting since reorg, so reports may be light, which is understandable. Mr. Carr, anything for legislative, please?
Yes. On January 7th, Governor Murphy signed legislation intended to ensure the Amistad Commission maintains its independence and is provided with sufficient resources to conduct its work. The Amistad Commission was created by law in 2002 to coordinate educational and other programs on slavery in America and African American history. Under the original statute, the Amistad Commission was established in the executive branch and located within the Department of State. In June of 2011, Governor Christie issued a reorganization plan that transferred the Amistad Commission from the Department of State to the New Jersey Department of Education to improve efficiency. As enacted, Bill number S-1028 and A-3601 amends the statute that created the Amistad Commission to provide that the commission is located in but not of the NJDOE rather than within the Department of State. The bill requires the commission to appoint an executive director and explicitly provides that financial support for the operations of the Amistad Commission will be appropriated by the legislature to the commission through a separate line item in the Annual Appropriations Act. The law also requires boards of education to include instruction that includes information about the centuries of accomplishments by African Americans in the building and development of America. The instruction must enable students to know and understand the nation's heritage of slavery and freedom and the contributions of African Americans to all areas of American society throughout history. Courses must also emphasize the personal responsibility of each citizen to fight racism and hatred and to uphold the national ideals of freedom and justice. The NJDOE will work with the Amistad Commission to ensure that the assessment tools for the New Jersey schools are inclusive of the curricular requirements established under the bill. Also, on January 11th, the full Senate approved A4461, which requires the state to enter into contracts and coordinate with certain cooperative purchasing systems to assist public schools in the purchase of COVID-19 related goods and services. Specifically, the legislation directs the NJDOE to coordinate with the lead agency of any state-approved cooperative purchasing system that includes one or more boards of education for the procurement of goods and services that aid in meeting COVID-19 health and safety standards. This bill permits the state to award contracts to more than one bidder. Under the bill, the Board of Education may purchase COVID-19 related goods and services upon adoption of a resolution through the contract or contracts for such goods and services entered in by the Department of Education. And last but not least, diversity and inclusion instruction, bill number A4454 and S2781 requires school districts to include instruction on diversity and inclusion as part of the implementation of New Jersey student learning standards. Under the bill, instruction would highlight and promote diversity, including economic diversity, equity, inclusion, tolerance, and belonging in connection with gender and sexual orientation, race and ethnicity, disabilities, and religious tolerance. Examine the impact that unconscious bias and economic disparities have at both an individual level and on society as a whole, and encourage safe, welcoming, and inclusive environments for all students, regardless of race, ethnicity, sexual and gender identities, mental and physical disabilities, socioeconomic status, and religious beliefs. And also, under the bill, the Commissioner of Education will provide school districts with sample learning activities and resources designed to promote diversity and inclusion. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. PCSBA, I don't have anything. Ms. Goff, do you have anything on NJSBA?
I do, Mr. President. So I took a look at their website. I highly encourage any board members who have not been on their website recently to go look, join if you haven't already gotten a login. There are many upcoming events, and they are in various formats. There are webinars. They also archive their webinars. So if you happen to miss one, they have a whole library of archived webinars. But tomorrow there's a legislative update webinar at 11 a.m. On Thursday, there is an Overcoming the New Education webinar at 1. And on the 27th at 11 a.m., there's a community relations webinar. They also offer podcasts, new and archived. There was a school law today, one, I believe it's tomorrow, personnel issues during the pandemic. That's the topic. They have Facebook Live events, new and archived as well. Our next Passaic County School Board's meeting will be February 8th, 2021 from 6:30 to 8:30. It's virtual, it's a WebEx. And I will be reaching out to our delegate from NJSBA, Kathy Hellowa, to see what she can offer us. We, in years past, have taken advantage of the service. It is a fee-based service that we pay, and there are many privileges that we get. So I'll be reaching out to her to see if there's anything new. Perhaps she can even virtually come and do something with us. I know goal setting was always something we did with her. Well, Robin, every year. So I'll be reaching out to her to see what's new and upcoming that she can offer us as a board.
Fantastic. Might as well go to CNI, please.
Sure, Mr. President. We did not meet this month, and I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Mr. Palouse, have CPAC and BTOs, anything?
Thanks, Mr. President. I just have a quick update. CPAC is going to host their first meeting of the year, Wednesday, January 27th at 8 p.m. via Zoom. You do have to pre-register. So you can either go to their Facebook page, which is Hawthorne NJ CPAC, or you can email and request a Zoom link at hawthorne.nj.cpac@gmail.com. And CPAC is SEPAC. Again, that's hawthorne.nj.cpac@gmail.com for the pre-registration Zoom. And also, just want to mention real quick, HEF and the high school PTO is still doing their Wheel for Education. It's going really well. We're actually up to almost 400 followers, so please encourage people to go onto their Facebook page. And again, that's HEF and HHS PTO Wheel of Education on Facebook. Register there, and you could possibly help us raise some money and also win some really good prizes. That concludes my report for tonight. Thank you, Mr. President.
Awesome, thank you. Mr. Tataro, Buildings and Grounds and Council Liaison and Policy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Updates on buildings and ground. The Hawthorne High School culinary and STEM rooms are finally 100% done. And we have our C of O for those 3 rooms. LMS Media Center and science rooms are complete and just awaiting final inspections and our completion of occupancy. Hopefully we'll get these this week, and we are currently using the rooms pending the CO from the town. The LMS and Roosevelt School boilers are up and running, and as of last Wednesday, the temporary heat trailer at Roosevelt was removed. And there are still few punch list items that need to be finished up, but we see those being done in the next couple of weeks. During the Christmas break, we had a power issue at the high school that burnt out the motors in 2 of the boiler feed pumps in the boiler room, and also burnt out an electrical heater in the den. We were able to replace everything in-house, and Trudy has put in an insurance claim for the value of the items, which totals approximately $4,500. And lastly, the roofing projects at Roosevelt and Jefferson are finished, pending 1 or 2 small punch list items. And thank you to Mr. Chamberlain for providing the update this month, as we did not have a meeting. Regarding policy, there's nothing. And council liaison, as far as that goes, just with council, my review of the council reorg meeting January 6th, there were no items that pertain to Hawthorne Board of Ed. However, I would like to congratulate all of our elected officials, including Council President Frank Matthews and Council Vice President John Lane, and those appointed for the 2021 calendar year. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Turco, Finance and Administration, please.
Yes, thank you. The committee did not meet this month, but I would like to extend congratulations to Trudy for another incredible year and a great audit. It's exemplary and it's something to be very proud of. And to my fellow committee members, welcome to the best committee of a board, because it's where you're going to find and really appreciate what it's all about. So thank you.
Thank you. And while negotiations is not listed on the agenda, because we didn't think we are gonna have something to report, Mr. Palouse will be chairing that committee, and we will be reporting on the next meeting. That's it for committees and liaison reports. Publicly heard. As a reminder, when submitting questions or comments via email, please be sure to include your first and last name, address, and your question. Thank you. Public be heard. Anything, Mr. Spirito?
Not at this time. There's no questions in the email.
Okay. We'll give it a minute. Seeing nothing in the chat box and no emails, we'll close out the public be heard portion of the meeting. We're going to move on to any new business. Ms. Goff, we'll start at your end. Any new business?
No, Mr. President, I'm good. Thank you.
Dr. Morel,
No, thank you. None at this time.
Mr. Palouse,
Not tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Reicher,
No, thank you.
Mr. Totaro,
No, Mr. President, thank you.
Mr. Turco.
Nothing new or old, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carr,
No, Mr. President, thank you.
all right, any old business? No, and general comments and questions from the board related to the school district. Ms. Goff,
I would just like to say thank you to the community again and our administration, with everyone being patient. This has been not what anybody wanted to spend their 2021 year like, but you know, everyone's best interests are at hand. And I really do thank Mr. Spirito for the tireless work, Ms. Engel, Ms. Tribona, all of our administrators and teachers and faculty for coming back after the vacation, keeping our children safe, and just, it does not go unnoticed. We're very appreciative.
Dr. Morel,
No comments.
Mr. Palouse,
I obviously feel the same way Abby does. I just want to also thank Trudy for you know, keeping us on sound ground. You know, doing a great job not only this year but since you've been here. So, you know, thank you for your hard work and great job. Thank you.
Mr. Reicher,
Abby said it all. I concur with everything that Abby said about everybody, and try to stay in school as long as we can and just take it day by day.
Mr. Totaro,
I echo the same sentiments by everybody else, but especially would like to give kudos to Trudy and team. I said it last year, I'll say it again. It's hard enough to manage your own checkbook, but managing a district is a monumental undertaking. And the fact that this is the second time that I've been a part of this board with these type of reports back are really something to be said and commendable to you and your team.
Thank you.
Mr. Turco, any comments?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Carr,
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
and have the opportunity of closing it out. The first meeting of the calendar year can provide an opportunity to both reflect and look forward. I'll take the opportunity to reflect on the service of the many volunteers who have sat in our chairs to help build what we have in place. This includes our recently separated fellow board members who made a mark in our community and will be sorely missed. I also reminisce about former board member and past president Michelle Iams for the Patsy card for recruiting me and believing in me 8 years ago. Looking forward, I am both encouraged and enthused by the team I have the privilege to serve with, a seasoned and talented group that includes our senior board member and former president Lou Turco, serving since the 90s, Bruce Reicher and Abby Goff approaching a decade of service, Anthony Palouse, 6 years in now, our newest board members, Joe Carr and Dr. Morel. It is also exciting to see growth and have board members stepping into leadership roles. Not to mention a team of professionals that serve our district, including our superintendent, Mr. Spirito, for whom the role is more than just a job, but more so of a calling. The year ahead, while it certainly presents some serious challenges, it also presents an opportunity to come together, to forge onward, and to continue building for the benefit of our community and the students entrusted to us. Here's to a successful 2021.
Here, here.
Motion. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
So
Motion.
moved. Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Dr. Morel,
Yes.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yeah.
Mr. Clavijo.
Yes.